Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a very special, exciting day of the Saturday morning D&D show. Lovely to have you all here live with us in chat. My name is Jordan, with a silent PH in the middle, and I am joined always by my wonderful co-host, Sir Lucian, over at Sir Lucian Gaming. Say hello, sir.
Hello, sirs, ma'ams, everybody's, theys, thems, thens, all of you. Welcome, everybody.
We have a lot to talk about. Very exciting stuff in the world of Dungeons & Dragons. And so I guess we'll just kind of get right into it.
Crazy little book announcement.
The book that was announced, you were right, Lucian. You were on the fence. You're like, I don't know what it's going to be. But now that Jordan's talking anthology, I'm thinking anthology.
That's where I went, yep.
I thought it was going to be older adventures, but apparently this new book, Candlekeep Adventures, is it's going to be 17 one-shots, basically. Mm-hmm. And it almost has to be one-shots because there's 17 adventures.
That's a lot.
That's a lot for one book. So I don't think this is going to be more than like an evening of D&D, but that's fine and that's fun. But they're not older adventures. They're a bunch of writers that they hired to write adventures specifically for this. So Candlekeep Adventures will have and some really cool writers too. So ones that I recognize, Sherlock Holmes, Mark Holmes.
Awesome.
He will be one of the writers. I was looking up the names here. And Amy Vorpal, and Amy Vorpal she's an actress. She does a bunch of D&D stuff. She's really big in the community. She's super cool. Daniel Kwan, who has his Asians Represent podcast, and he has been a big proponent of like rewriting Karatur and getting rid of like the Asian stereotypes, but actually celebrating Asian culture with Dungeons and Dragons, and Karatur can be like that, and I thought that was really cool. Well, he's just a really good person and really interesting guy. His podcast is amazing, so I'm excited to see what he wrote. And then Christopher Perkins, I love Chris. Chris writes really good adventures. I'm really excited.
He's good at that.
He's good at that. So this is what we're working, or this is what's going on. I think it's really exciting.
And plenty of more people. There was a lot. That's a big list.
A lot. Those were the names that stuck out to me because that's who I recognized. But no, Sarah Madsen, Tamor Rayman. I don't know a lot of these people, but
I think there's some DMsGuild people in there. I think they really reached out to the community, really reached out to people that were already in the community or have some. They weren't just like random out there kind of stars, and they were going to bring in one time to do something D&D. Like they didn't run out and get, Vin Diesel or something like that. This was like, these are people that you see playing D&D or talking about D&D or doing stuff within the D&D community, and then they brought them in, for the most part. And I
know people like Matt Mercer are busy, but I'm surprised that they didn't get like Deborah Ann Wool to write something, just because of the name. But she's also a talented dungeon master, so it would make sense to do that. But and
talented actress, and maybe super busy.
And that's the other thing is she might be busy. I just don't know. But I know Matt's super busy, so he probably was asked and like, no, thank you. I've got a whole world to keep writing to do a weekly show. So I think the idea is that you're at Candlekeep and you find like a book and it's like, oh, let's read this story. And then the idea is that you like play that story. And so I could be wrong, but it kind of feels like, why else would you be at Candlekeep other than, you could do this exact same premise, but you're at a bar and someone's like, let me tell you the story of this. And then you play out the game. But yeah.
Well, Mr. Forgotten Realms lore guy, there may be people who don't know what Candlekeep is.
Oh man. That's true.
Don't know. Maybe you should tell them a tiny bit about Candlekeep.
Just a wee bit of the Candlekeep. So Candlekeep is it is the Library of Alexandria. It is It is the largest library in the Forgotten Realms and houses all kinds of books, but not just historical books. Like they have cookbooks and literally everything. And in order to gain admittance to Candlekeep, you need to provide a book they don't have. So the idea is that they're constantly getting an influx of new books of people who only want to visit Candlekeep. So like they're, and then the monks there are copying and preserving data, preserving knowledge. I think that's the idea, is that you're at Candlekeep for whatever reason, you're adventurers, and so you are exploring the different stories that are within Candlekeep. And so this will take you, or could potentially take you anywhere in the realms, but anywhere, really anywhere. Like, because it's like, oh, I heard this story from, I mean, I'm sure they have literature on Dark Sun and Planescape and all this other stuff. So we'll see. But I'm excited for it because I use these resources a lot of just like, to just say, hey, do you want to play a night of D&D? It's kind of fun to just have these. And to have them all in one book, and to also have them... well, they go up in level, and so I was wondering if you had like 5 friends, could you do the rotating DM? So it's like, okay, I'll run level 1, you run level 2, you run level 3, and you kind of just, so everyone gets a chance to play. Like, I like that round robin.
I feel like
style.
I thought I heard that there's at least an Easter egg like connection between all of them, if not a full on. You can play them all in order, but there is a loose link that a DM could try to thread and weave all of this into a large campaign.
And I wonder if that
could
is,
be cool.
Oh no, the monster's going to eat Candlekeep. We have to like read all these books as fast as possible. I don't know, something like that. But no, and that's what they want. They wanted to have like, if you want to play it all together, you could. Yeah. But I think it really is. They're well, I shouldn't say they're recognizing this, but so many. You watch any like YouTuber or Twitch person that is obsessed with role-playing games, when a new book like this comes out, over half of them all the time will say, I don't think I'll run this, but I definitely will use this, this, and this. And we've done it before too with like Theros. Like, I don't think I'll run a Theros game, but boy, I like that piety system. Boy, I like this, you know? And so you kind of compartmentalize. And so cash in on that. And that's kind of what they're doing, where it's like, you could just, take this and do this. No new classes or anything, because it is an adventure, but there'll be new monsters and new magic items. And so, I don't know. There was mixed reactions, I guess. Some people were like on board, and some people were like, why not? Why are we doing this? But
it's a Dungeon Master's resource, right?
Yeah.
Number one. So immediately you're going to get the group that's like, oh, like you just said, there's no subclasses, or there might be spells and things in here, but they're not ones you can just add to your character sheet right off. There have to be ones that maybe you stumble upon in these adventures. You're not starting out level 1 with that cool new level 1 spell in the book, because you're probably not buying this book as a player to grab that stuff to put on your character, right?
Absolutely.
So there's a big part of the community that's not like, oh, well, is this book even for me? I may get to experience it. My Dungeon Master might use pieces of it, but that's not one I would really buy. But it is cool that it is a Dungeon Master resource. I like the idea too, just the campaign idea hook, because you could put a Library of Alexandria in any world, right? You can put that in your new world you're creating. You could put that in Eberron. You could put in there's this building, there's this cult, there's this group, there's these monks, there's these people that want to gather all the knowledge of the world. And the way you can get in to see that knowledge is you have to give them a new piece of knowledge, a new book. And that mechanic's kind of cool, because right there you have your hook into how part of your adventure is going to go. First part is you guys need to go find a book that they don't have, right?
Yeah.
Then you get to come back, and then you get the thing you do want. And that kind of can tie you in and do a lot of things. Or maybe you're being hired by these people to go do stuff. Books are missing. A new book has been found or heard of. A book that was taken needs to be returned. There's an author out there that somebody needs protecting so they can finish the book they're writing. I mean, you could really start to reach around. How could Candlekeep itself hire adventurers, or what would they need adventurers for to do something? So that could be kind of a cool, so there could be some cool angles in there. And then I'm assuming it's definitely Candlekeep, so it's definitely going to be really Forgotten Realm based, though I'm sure there'll be a blurb at the beginning that says you can put this in any world. But I bet their author is focused on Forgotten Realms. So for a, Forgotten Realms lore content creator, you're going to pick up some stuff probably that may has not been mentioned before, or is, has not been enough that you'll be able to go back and make a video on and say, oh, one of these adventures took us to Myth Drainar to do this thing. And here's some new lore about Myth Drainar that we didn't know, or here's some new lore that I bet none of you knew about. So another cool thing for those people that are really into Forgotten Realms to find out maybe some new stuff we didn't know, or see some areas we haven't been to yet, or those kinds of things. So it feels kind of cool. But I could see a big portion of being a letdown. Like you just said, this is something that we would probably buy, but not use in full. So are you getting your $59 worth
Yeah.
You probably buy it on Amazon, so you get it a little cheaper. Probably.
Well, $50. I don't think they go higher than
it was
50.
like $49.90.
But yeah, $49 basically. So, and I mean, I don't know. That's what I as a tabletop enthusiast, I can't say this anymore because I buy a lot of books that I buy books that I never intend to run strictly because I want to learn how the system does stuff. But that's because I'm interested in design and things like that. So it all comes, I mean, this argument we've talked about a whole bunch, but I think it always comes down to, are you enjoying it? You know? So.
Yeah, I was out of frame there. I didn't realize that.
Oh no, out of frame, Lucian. No. So I don't know.
Interesting.
It comes with a map of Candlekeep, which will be cool.
Now, another thing. Here's a question. Did you hear this? I didn't see it in the notes, but did it sound like these are a lot of mystery type adventures?
That's what they're advertising because it's Candlekeep Mysteries. And it's an anthology of 17 mystery-themed adventures. Yeah,
that had me taken a little bit because I'm like, okay, I could see I could use a mystery-themed adventure here or there to intersperse with my campaign every now and then. But did I need 16 mystery campaigns? You know,
well, and
I like combat. I like heavy action. I like, you know, big blockbuster Brockheimer movie stuff.
It might not be for you then, but we'll have to see.
Yeah.
I was curious if it's just going to be an M. Night Shyamalan, you know, not who done it, but like twist at the end kind of a thing.
Right.
And that's the mystery because we were talking about on Discord that D&D as a system does not handle mystery well. And so you kind of have to take out there's no mechanical way to, well, there are mechanical ways, but I'm going to say that there's not a good mechanical way to handle mysteries. So then it's up to your players to just think creatively, which is fine and great. And you might have a lot of fun with this, but when the player's looking at you, like, I don't understand the puzzle. Can I roll an intelligence check? It's like, it's not, that's
Can you
not
give me the
point.
answer? My character would know the
like,
answer.
So.
You're relying on the player more than the character in a mystery adventure. Because it's not about, you know, Braun strong arm the dwarf. It's more about, can Dan the player figure out what you're saying, you know? And I can make a few rolls here. Maybe you can give me some clues, but I've always found as a dungeon master trying to make a mystery has always been tough because you can create a couple of clues that you think are obvious and then your party is stumped for the entire night. And in your mind, you're like, my God, this is totally obvious. Why are they not getting it? I don't know what to do. Because for whatever reason, it's not obvious to them. They're just not getting it. Or, you know, they get it on one guess and you're done, right? They're just like, oh, it's that door. It's the murderer's right there. Let's grab him. And then what do you do with the rest of your adventure at that point once they've latched on to somehow they guessed it or figured it out or whatever? So mysteries are almost like a hot potato. I have not done a lot of in my game. So I'm not very good at them for sure. Yeah. That's one of the reasons I wouldn't have. So maybe this will be a resource that shows me a good way to do them. I hope that's possible, but I wonder how easy it is to make a good mystery that's going to play out in a role-playing game. It's just, I don't know.
I think, I mean, if we all get on the phone and call up Sarah McLachlan and find out what it takes to build a mystery, we might be able to do that. 97 reference. Okay. Moving on. No. But that was the big thing. Candlekeep Mysteries. It's going to be fun. It comes out March something.
So first book for
March 16th.
Supposed to be March.
So that'll be fun. And got some good writers. But ultimately, you know, you never know if it's a buy or not until somebody buys it and you can look at it and flip through it.
Cover. What'd you think of the cover?
Cover was fine. Didn't blow me away. The alt cover is interesting and different, and I kind of like.
I gotta look that up. I hadn't seen that one yet. I only saw the announcement for the.
So the regular Candlekeep Mysteries cover, they're looking at books, they're building a mystery, and the alt cover is it kind of looks like an old. So you know when Barnes and Noble and a lot of those book chains, they started taking classic public domain books and putting them in those really nice covers that have like the foil, you know, and it'd be H.P. Lovecraft, you know, Cthulhu or something. It reminds me of that, where it's this nice kind of foil, old-looking book, and it says Candlekeep Mysteries, and so nice. It's nice. But again, I love the alternate covers. Mm-hmm. They're always fun, except Saltmarsh. Saltmarsh was the only one I didn't like, but they're for the most part they're always fun. But they don't match the rest of my books on my shelf, and I don't like them for that reason, and I don't buy them for that reason, because I guess I don't know. I'm organized like that, where I want to look at my shelf and be like, here are my 5th edition books. Look how they are. And when they don't do that, I get frustrated.
Shelves behind you.
Yeah. All those books. Those ones over there behind it.
Mr. Organized.
Yeah. It's fun. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I like these more than mechanics nowadays. I like these fun storybooks because I get a lot of ideas, and I guess I'm learning that I enjoy running D&D more than I like playing in it. Yeah. And so it's really fun for me to read a story and be like, oh, but like, what if they went to hell next, or you know, something like that. Like, I like that, and having jumping off points, and I think it's a lot of fun.
That's definitely a comment I was thinking about, is that they went back again to something ultimately familiar, ultimately not new or groundbreaking for them. Mm-hmm. They've made board games with the Candlekeep name. I think there's even I'm sure there was like a board game that's like a Mystery on the Hill kind of thing, but it was a Candlekeep version of it, I thought.
Betrayal at House on the Hill?
Yeah.
That was Baldur's Gate. They made a Baldur's Gate version of that.
Yeah, but I thought Candlekeep was prominently displayed in that somehow.
I mean,
or they had a version of it, or I'll have to look it up.
They had a Scooby-Doo version, but Avalon Hill, it's its own thing now. They're separated from Wizards of the Coast, I guess. So.
No, but Wizards of the Coast has a board game thing that they create right now. There's another board game division that's building board games.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't heard of a Candlekeep game, so I don't know.
Or I'm sure I heard it in a video game, I thought, too, at some point. So, but it feels like it's another place that people have heard of and at least know a little bit about, versus them just pulling a city out of, just anywhere out near Thay, or, we haven't even got Thay or anything like that yet. So I think it's interesting that they're still not delving into anything really new that didn't come from 1st, 2nd, or 3rd edition at this point for Dungeons and Dragons. I feel like, I don't know, it's like, is it a fear? They don't want to create anything? No,
I think
just keep leaning back in it.
I think Hasbro makes them play it very safe.
Think so?
And I've talked about this with a couple of other creators, that the backlash that they would see recreating something, whether they did a good job or a bad job, of something like Maztica or Karatur or Zakara, Al-Qadim, all that stuff, expanding out of the non-European Sword Coast is it's a risk they don't want to take of alienating them alienating anybody, because they want to make money, and I think Hasbro twists their arm to do that, but that's an opinion. I shouldn't get into a whole bunch of stuff like that, so I don't know.
But I mean, they could be doing anything around the Sea of Falling Stars. They could be doing Luche Isles. They could be doing what's next to Chol. Obviously, it's just a peninsula, so there's a whole nother area right next to it that they could be expanding on that most people don't know too much about. It's just interesting to me that they keep falling back on the tried and true stuff that they've marketed for over and over and over. We haven't really seen a lot of new stuff. Now, the book for Ravnica is new. When they're doing those little things, those are new for them. So that's, I guess, an outlet for them to do stuff that's not been done before. So maybe
they did say that they wanted to do more campaign settings this year, I think. Yeah. So I can almost guarantee one of those, maybe 2 of them, are Magic the Gathering settings. But I think that we're going to get some other minor settings, because right now the game is, well, I would say, to me, it is oversaturated with feats and classes and subclasses and spells and all this other stuff. And as a player, I'm having more fun creating my own spells for my wizard than digging through all the different books that have all these extra things in them. And I don't know. But maybe that's just me becoming the older, jaded D&D gamer, and this is the natural ebb and flow of the game. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think we hit that peak of there's so many books and resources out for an edition, at some point the decline starts of there's been too much released.
But I feel,
so do you move to another version, or do you continue that for a while, finish out doing more resources? You know, when does that happen?
Yeah.
But
and this is an opinion, but I being a DM for so long with 5e, my players were already so powerful. And with Tasha's coming out, I really enjoyed the Ranger changes, and I enjoyed a couple of other things. But I think Wizards of the Coast was like, we can't make a book that only fixes the Ranger, because then we acknowledge the Ranger was broken. So we need to like give everybody new abilities, but we'll say they're all optional. But the minute I let the Ranger in my game use those optional abilities to, quote, fix him, then the fighter's like, well, I want to use my optional abilities. And I'm like, but you're already overpowered. Like, you're one of the strongest character classes in the game, and now you get more things to do. And the wizard's like, I want to change my cantrips all the time. Well, I would have let you change your cantrips, but now you're just doing it willy-nilly because the rules let you. So, I don't know. Shedzar makes a good point that, well, actually, I read that wrong. Sorry, but you said big anniversary, and I was thinking that Wizards of the Coast has a big anniversary coming up with D&D, and so we always talk about like the 50th anniversary is going to hit.
Could be something
huge has got to happen.
So this starts the clock. Then we know about Candlekeep Adventures. We know it's going to be in March. That's 3 months into this year. So maybe you can guess that there's going to be another book another 3 months after that. So maybe a June release, maybe. So we know we've got an anthology. What are we thinking we're getting next after that then? Because we know we're getting a couple of books this year. So,
I would say definitely I think the logical thing would be a Magic the Gathering this summer to tie in with the the Forgotten Realms set that's going with Magic the Gathering.
I think that's a good.
And then maybe, I don't know,
because that'd be an adventure book and then a campaign guide, new world campaign guide.
So
I could see that.
Other things in the really cool news of D&D. Good friend, well, I should say good friend, person I've met once, Matt Colville, released a magazine called Arcadia. And it is not in print. I printed this off because I thought it was really cool, and the art is really awesome. But a lot of buzz around this. Did you get a chance to read this? Did you pick it up?
I perused it. I am not one of his patrons at the moment. And I believe it's a patron reward that you can get, or you can buy through his patron store.
So it's $5 to become a patron, and you get it for free. Or you can buy it from their site for $7. I should be a patron of Matt. I'm just not. And I ended up buying it for $7, and it's really fun. It's really worth the money. There's some simple adventures in here. So again, if you just want like a fun adventure, and this is kind of the same feel as Candlekeep, because they hired a bunch of writers, and the writers are like, here, I have this idea. And then they're like, that's a great idea. We want to pay you more money to expand upon it. And all these writers were like, what? Like, that's not how this works. Like, you usually don't pay us well. So it's really cool that Matt is focused on, he has the resources to make a quality product, and he's not afraid to invest money into the people to help make that product quality. James Introcaso is the lead designer / editor of this magazine, Arcadia, and he has a really good intro where he's like, I met with Matt, and Matt just said that we need to do really dope stuff that people want to use in their game. And so Matt said in a video after this came out that he's like, everything that was in here, I like went through, he read it, and he's just like, I would use that in my game. And if he wouldn't use it in his game, he didn't want to put it in the magazine. And so it's really cool. I haven't read all of the adventures, but specifically there's a new subclass for Sorcerer that is, let me find it here, the Titan Heart.
Titan based.
Yeah, and I was originally like, oh, it's like you're a giant, but no, they're talking about things like Krakens, maybe even Tarrasques or something, like just these really titanic,
enormous, Titanic, Godzilla.
That is where you've got a little bit of that blood in you or something like that. Would also make for a fun patron, I think, to have like a Kraken patron or something like that. But yeah, it's really fun. Like, and apparently he play tested a lot of this stuff, and specifically the Titan Heart Sorcerer, you can grow to be large. You get an AC increase. You can do this limited in number of times per day. This is one of the first times that I've seen like a third party supplement thing that I'm like, I would use that at my table. Like, I think that's really fun. A lot of times I find subclasses in these DM's Guild supplements that I get where I'm just like, well, did you playtest this? Because right off the get-go, that is way too powerful. Or like your first 5 levels of this class will be boring. Like, they need something right here. And I'm not saying I'm an expert, but like when you play enough, you can look at something and just be like, no. Like, and maybe it plays differently. I should say that. I don't know all the things, but this was the first time that I'm like, that looks really cool. Yeah. It also had some mount rules, which I thought were really fun.
I've had to make those as a DM for my campaign. I went in because my players were like, there's no real good mount rules in the game. They're very small, what you can do. And we wanted to expand on, some cool stuff that if you're riding a mount that you should be able to do. So we came up with some stuff. That's one piece I want to dive into that when I go to get the magazine is that I want to take a good look at those and see how they match up to some of the stuff I came up with and what their ideas were.
Yeah, I mean, he reviews the original rules, which you then get a sense of like, okay, these were just kind of like, and you can ride things. But then there's a vaulting attack you can do with your mount. And then basically just new mounts. So one of the things that I really like about it is that your mount starts getting your proficiency bonus added to its AC. And it also gets temporary hit points 3 times your level. So like at the start of the day, your guy isn't going to be able to be healed constantly through a fight, but they can last a little bit longer. And that's just I don't know, it's such a simple design element that fixes a lot of problems. Yeah. My Warforged Eldritch Knight has a Nightmare mount, and I fly that all over, and it's really, really fun. But he does die quite a bit, and then I have to wait 24 hours to summon him back kind of a thing. Just having the temporary hit points would be really cool. Specifically, I really liked the Giant Toad mount, and that was super fun. So it's just really cool. It's lots of interesting stuff in here. I think it's really put together well. There's a few monsters. I don't think there were any magic items. But yeah, the art's really cool. And he made a quality product, and they have 3 of these done.
I feel like there's some spells in there too, right? Did I see some spells?
Oh, yeah, there were for the Titan. Yeah. The Titan Heart. There were new spells for him that were elemental themed. So, yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of one of the first things I've seen. It's not quite there yet, but it's definitely close to the old, I'm going to go down to the game book store and I'm going to pick up either the dungeon or Dragon magazine to see what those writers are doing, and there's cool stuff in there. But what I like about it is it's not full of advertisements like a normal magazine, because like normal magazine is advertisement, cool article, advertisement, cool article, advertisement, cool. It's like 1-to-1 ratio of them trying to pay for the book that they're making, the magazine that they're making. And with the death of magazines and nobody buying any magazines, we just haven't had that anymore. So you have to kind of rely on the DM's Guild, but that takes a lot of searching and you don't quite know what you're getting sometimes. And then the quality of those is really super hit and miss. This felt higher quality. This felt like there was an editor that edited it. There was a layout artist that did the layout. They actually paid for good art, which I think draws you into any magazine, is good visuals. Good articles are good, but you need a visual to tie you in, and I think they did a good job there. 43-ish pages, and he wants to have like three items in magazines, although I think this one had 4, the next couple have 3, and then the last one has 4. And then I think in his video he talked about they've done a set of them. They're going to release them, see what people think. If people love them, then it's something they're thinking about continuing on. If people are like, it was okay, but, moving on, then they'll just let it lie and, everybody will move on type thing. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I like the idea, like what you said, Matt's in a position to help promote those in the community to do these things. Writers, artists, layout artists, managers of it. James, to run the whole thing. He's able to get it going. And it's worth $7. I mean, as far as everything I've seen on, that I might have bought off of the guild DMsGuild or I've bought off of Drive Through RPG. $7 isn't bad, and there's definitely some stuff in there that I thought was really cool. And it's very interesting. I'm interested to see what the next one is. So it's cool that somebody's doing a magazine, and it's of decent quality, and I hope it gets an even better quality to the point where it feels like one of those real magazines that, I mean, I still have them printed out. I still have a box of them in my basement of Dungeon and Dragon magazine that I still will go back to and look every now and then and find something cool inside that you can use in any game right now today. They were doing some cool, and I like the idea that they're just like, do you have a 3-page idea? Do you have a 2-page idea? Let's do it. Let's put it in here, take it out. Let's put it in here and let people see it. So I really kind of dig it. So
it's fun. Print is dead.
Print's dead.
And I mean, for the most part, but like, I also, there's a certain joy of coming home and you're like, oh, my new issue of this is at my doorstep. And that's really fun. And I was thinking about, as you were like the way you were talking about it, but I was thinking about like loot crates and how people got really excited for their loot crates, but even those are now spoiled for people because a lot of my friends that would do the subscription loot crate stuff, they look online, oh, that's what's in this month's before it even arrives at their house. And I'm like, but there's a certain joy in that. And so I think
mystery.
if they even did a print version of this, most people would be reading it digitally because you want to, if you're really excited about it, you want to read it first. And so, and the price would have to go up if he did a print, but I don't know. Matt was saying like, he's like, we have to make sure that this makes money before we can continue, but it's a 3-month experiment. So they have, this month and February and March all done.
Yeah.
So we're going to get 3 issues and then they're going to go back and be like, okay, did this make money? How can we do this? How can we improve? Is this what people want? But the reception of this has been huge. Like people all over are talking about it. And I think he has the personality to make a new magazine based on like RPGs and D&D succeed. And he has an incentive to make it succeed if he wants to. Yeah. And he has an incentive to make it succeed outside of something like the DMsGuild, where I don't think it even would succeed if it was on the DMsGuild. Or how many, there's so many RPG zines, many of them are fantastic that do Kickstarters, but I never hear about them, and I don't know the person behind it to really trust what I'm getting, I guess. So it's all word of mouth a lot of the times, and Matt's just he's got a good charisma, and he talks to the camera really well, and all of a sudden you're buying a magazine that you're like, I didn't even know I wanted this, but it's amazing. So
anyway. And when we said that we weren't patrons of Matt, what we actually said, we are patrons of his, because we both pumped a bunch of money into both of his Kickstarters and have supported his ideas right from the get-go. So we are patrons in that way. I just am not one of his monthly patrons at the moment.
Yeah.
So I definitely support Matt wherever I can, and we loved when he came on the show and talked about his exciting project in the beginning, and we were so lucky, and it was just cool. I like that he's able to show his excitement and enthusiasm to people. He's able to say why he's excited about it. If you ask him, about the Dune board game, he's going to get lit up and excited. He's going to tell you all the reasons why it's super cool. Or he's going to talk about Star Wars. He's going to tell you why things are super cool or what he thinks about those things. He has a really cool way of not only being excited himself, but getting you excited about it while he talks about it. Because you're just like, he was talking about one of my favorite videos of his to this day is he's talking about the card game that I never played. That was the Japanese-based card
Legend
game.
of the Five Rings or something?
Legend of the Five Rings. I was fascinated by that and knew nothing about it. Never played it. Never bought a piece of it. But I was like, I could listen to this story forever. It was so good.
Anytime you hear somebody who's really passionate about stuff, I find that they make it interesting,
Yeah.
And so it is. It's like, let's talk about Palm OS or something, and it's like, yeah, you have no idea. So back in the day, and you're like, I didn't want to know about this, but like, I don't know. Those people.
It could even be a boring thing, and they make it so it's not, right? It's just like, oh my god, this is so interesting, and I'm into it now. I'm like, I want to know more. So that's why I love Matt and the stuff that he does. I love that he's supporting the community, and he's somebody who's helping others get into the community. He's always been a positive force in the community. I've never really seen, negativity come from him. So he's another like Matt Mercer type for me, who's always supportive of the company to grow not the community. I mean, not the company, grow the community, bring more people in, and help people stay. Those are the two things I think those two have done the most for, and many others. I'm only just picking those two out because I think they epitomize that.
Then a little blurb came out yesterday
This one I didn't see.
The writer of John Wick, the guy who created the John Wick character and wrote the first the 3 John Wick movies, Derek Kolstad, he apparently is interested in writing and developing a live action D&D television series. And so this is not concrete in the slightest. All this news is that he is set to write a pitch, and then if somebody wants to buy that pitch, then he doesn't even have to be the writer on it anymore. It's just the idea that like, oh, okay, it was created by, but it was written by somebody else. So it might not be anything to do with him, but I thought that was interesting that there's people talking. There's no plot, there's no anything for the series. It could be animated, it could be live action. Like they say live action, but they're up in the air. But Kolstad worked on not only John Wick, but he is writing. He's one of the writers on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier Disney Plus series that's coming up. So. Yeah, I don't know. I really like the John Wick movies, but they're very actiony. I think he was a stuntman, the guy that wrote them, so he really knew how to get the shots he wanted, or maybe that was the director, not the writer. I thought the writer was the director, but I could be wrong. Anyway, we will talk about that as more information comes out. But it's kind of interesting that D&D is, it's not. Well, I would say it's been growing by leaps and bounds, but getting a movie and getting a TV series are going to be the next step, I think. So.
I feel like we're in an age where if somebody wants to put the money into it, it can be done correctly. It can be done so it looks good. It could be a cool story. If you had somebody like the Russo brothers or, James Gunn or, any of these people that are creating these cool action-packed movies that do have effects, but maybe you don't have to go overboard. You can do like if you think about Winter Soldier, the type of effects they had in that, it was a lot of good fighting stuff. Maybe you had a few spell-like effects, and all of a sudden you've got a D&D movie if you do it right? And then there could be a cool story that's tying in really fun and cool characters together. So we're at a time when we could do it. Like 10 years ago, I don't think we had the technology. They could do a story, but we didn't have technology to show the dragon to be a really cool dragon, or show that, we're now in that time where you could make some really cool looking trolls or really cool looking fight scenes of, them delving in some dungeon, Tomb of Horror style dungeon or whatever it might be. I think you could really do it if they wanted to. So now it's just about, is somebody willing to do it? Is there a studio out there willing to put the money into it? Is there a director willing to write a good story and not like some of the stuff we've gotten before, right? Because we've had Dungeons and Dragons movies. They were I don't know where the vision came for them. I don't know who wrote them off and said, yeah, that's exactly like the Dungeons and Dragons game I play on Friday night, and said, yep, we've got a hit here.
That was
but somebody lied to them. Somebody totally lied to those people, because that was not Dungeons and Dragons as far as I could tell.
That would be, I should make a video. That would be an interesting video of like the movie history of D&D, just so people understand, like, because the contracts got linked to a company, and then if they made a new movie, they kept the rights. So basically this company was like, let's just make crappy movie after crappy movie so that we can hold on to the rights in case it blows up and we make a lot of money. And it's the same thing Fox did with Fantastic Four. They're like, let's just we got to make anything, and we hold on to these rights, people. Marvel's big now, right? So they made that terrible Fantastic Four movie, and it was just like, doesn't have to make money, just has to hold on to the rights. Anyway, really interesting stuff. We've talked for a lot, but we had a lot of news. We're gonna transfer to a monster college where
George's been excited about this all morning.
So over the week, I've been making I made some really dumb overlays. So we're gonna transition to my really dumb overlay. Are you guys ready for this? All right, so this is the monster page number personal computer. It is currently calculating a random number for us so that we can understand what's really happening. And it looks like our number might be done. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So we are on page 202 is the number of our monster PC. So looking up number 202 of the Monster Handbook. Let's see what we got here.
Give us a good
what
one.
do you think it is?
Oh my god, 202. That's in the middle.
Oh, this is
part.
great. This is going to be a really easy one, I think. But it is a Lich. The Lich is our monster of choice. So now I go over here to this area and I say Lich. And you guys see behind the scenes that stuff happens on the screen and it's just crazy. But then we go over here and yeah, there's a Lich. All right. We're going to talk about this Lich.
What
so
crazy technology we have these days.
I know. Oh my gosh.
There it is.
So
yes,
cool.
The Lich.
Going back over here so I can see chat.
Yeah.
So anyway, the graphics, I know. So exciting. That is a state-of-the-art PC. So Lich, a CR21 creature.
This is a big. This is a
big
campaign one. Starting. This
Yeah.
is your bad guy. This is your super bad where you're sitting back and you're thinking, I've got this idea for a campaign. I'm going to have this Lich as the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
Here's his or her plan, his, her, or they's plan of what they've been doing to mess up and take over the world or destroy everything around them. And my players have to do something about it. But I'm going to show them a little bit in the beginning because he's too tough for them when they're first level. But they need to build up to him, you know? So we're going to have the long campaign that lets them get powerful enough to take on a CR21 character. Have you even ever, in any games you've played, Mr. Dungeon Master Jordan, have you fought a CR21 character yet? I don't think I've even fought a CR21 creature in any campaign I've played. This is big time.
You know, Miska the Wolf Spider was... that was in the 20s. I can't remember the exact number. But yeah, I don't know. A Lich, I am trying to think if I've even run a Lich. I don't think I have.
Yeah.
I did the Lich in the Tomb of Horrors, but that's a weird demi-Lich kind of a thing, and so I'm not really sure. Mm-hmm. But no, they're great. I have a DMsGuild supplement that I bought called Gothnog's Guide to Lichdom or something. I don't know. It's over there on my book. I'll have to look it up. I'll put it in the things below. But that was a really cool resource where this author just wrote some really fun, like, here's the ways to become a Lich if your players wanted to do that. And I thought that was really cool. So
tell us a little about it in case there's somebody out there. I can't imagine who somebody doesn't know about a Lich, but give us a little bit of the.
Oh yeah.
What can we expect from the Lich? What are some of the cool things that make them who they
are? A Lich is usually a powerful. Well, it is a powerful spellcaster, and there are many opinions whether bards and clerics can become Liches, or if it is only wizards. But you essentially kill yourself and trap your soul in a vessel called a phylactery, and that phylactery then houses your soul and keeps it from going to the afterlife, which at the same time allows your body to be animated and sentient. So you can still, you're undead, but you're still focused. Now, your body's going to decay at an accelerated rate unless you feed life energy, i.e. other souls, into your phylactery, which keeps your body sustained. So, and keeps your mind sharp. And so that's the other scary thing. If you don't put other souls into the phylactery to sustain yourself, then your body will start to decay and your mind will go crazy. And in 5e terms, that's where you get the weird disembodied floating skull that, like, is very dangerous but very crazy. And so famous Liches like Acererak, Vecna is another famous Lich, but Acererak specifically built the Tomb of Horrors to gather adventurers who are like, I'm going to make a lot of money in the Tomb of Horrors, and then die. And when they die in that place, their souls go to the phylactery to keep a Sararak alive. So it's kind of one of those things. And a phylactery could be anything, apparently. Like, I think it could be a gem or a jar.
It's like the MacGuffin of
I've read stories where it's like a large stone. And then there's always the joke of like, make your phylactery a pebble or a grain of sand and throw it into the beach and no one will ever find it, kind of a thing. So, yeah. I don't know.
Or will they?
Or will they? But, I mean, it gives off magical stuff, so whatever. But it would be cool. There's also a handful of magic items that when you wear it long enough, the curse is that it turns you into a lich. And I always thought that would be kind of a cool way to turn a player inadvertently into a lich. Like, I would even pass them a secret card and be like, so you're cursed. This is probably what's going to happen to you. You know this, but you don't necessarily have to tell your friends about all of that. So, this is a tricky one because I mean, he's an end boss, you know, in a way.
Yeah.
So, but I would have
huge spell casting potential.
I would have the bringing back the lich, you know, and so let's say you find I keep thinking of Sauron. You know, and in The Hobbit, it's like there's a weird necromancer hanging out in Mirkwood, and I got to go investigate that kind of a stuff. The Lich coming back to power, I think, is the story I would like to tell. And so your players are trying to find, like, what's this weird cult and what are they doing? They're grabbing people and sacrificing them, all in the name of funneling souls to the phylactery to then have it, you know, phylact. That's what they do. Phylacteries phylact. So doing all of that and then having the Lich kind of get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then I don't know, the end of the campaign, I guess, is either he returns or they prevent that from happening. So
I think for mine, this is one where I kind of reward the players in that this one would always be the absolute evil for me, so they don't even have to question. I'm not going to throw a wrench in there to say, is he evil? Maybe he's not type thing. I'm going to make this one evil. I'm going to let their minions be totally, because they're participating in gathering these souls in some way. And I almost think it's like, maybe it's the head of the empire next door that we call as the evil empire and we're fighting against, and their people are doing these things, and that's why they are evil. And just give them that clear black and white, no guilty conscience whatsoever, taking these people out of power, going after them, and feeling good about, we stopped what they were doing, kind of. Because sometimes I like to challenge that. Sometimes I like to say, well, you might put something over here they think is evil, but if they dive into the story deeper, maybe there's something else going on there if they look for it, right? They don't just jump to a conclusion or a stereotype. So I like to play around with that a little bit. But in this one, I would like to be just black and white, let them just go, you know, there's a bad guy, point them at him and see what they could do. I've always been fascinated, too, this is not from a Dungeon Master's standpoint, of playing a character who has a character arc that starts out as somebody who just maybe learns about magic and loves it, and then how does that arc get you to a lich, right? So you'd almost have to work with a Dungeon Master who is willing to work with you to say, this story arc's about you going from somebody who finds magic for the first time, what it does to you over a long span of time, and how at the end you inevitably became that lich, and the things you did and the choices you made, and just play around in that space a little bit. And you might only be able to do it in a book or a story or something, but it'd be interesting if you could have that type of story arc in a campaign with your Dungeon Master too. So that could be a pretty fun thing. So I think it's great. You're looking at big spells, though, too. I'm thinking, like, you can come up with some cool stuff that you don't have to take from the book. So from a Dungeon Master's perspective, you could make up some cool spells that you think this person should have or has researched or has created themselves because of the abilities they have. You get to bring in a lot of the other undead that they could maybe command or have as bodyguards, or what their ultimate goal is. And they could even have some cool enemies. So from a Dungeon Master's perspective, they're that powerful, and they've stayed that powerful by keeping their enemies at bay, but they definitely have some cool enemies out there. So what part of the story could they play, and what part of the story could your players do with that once they find out, oh, there's a couple of people out here that really don't like this person either. Maybe there's something we can do there, type thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
man.
I think it's a great character. It's a great monster.
It's a fun one. Yeah.
It's a classic D&D monster. Like the Lich, that's quintessential D&D right there.
I think I want to. Sorry, so everybody in chat, I was trying to show you the book I bought, which was called Blasphemous Abominations: The Lich by Critical Hit Publishing. This is the Gothnog book that I was telling you about, and I got it in hardcover. It's fun. I haven't used it, but I really want to use it to become a Lich. I would like to have a dungeon master that allows me to go on that journey. And I know it's very evil, and so I don't necessarily want to play an evil campaign, but I like the idea of that. I think it would be a lot of fun to do that transition, and that's like how you retire your character in a way, Mm-hmm. To be a lot of fun. Cool. But yeah, so we got 10 minutes or so. Mr. the Lucian, what have you been doing in games?
Well, we're doing Dungeon of the Mad Mage, so we're still playing through that.
I need you to do a floor a week, so we can get through this. Okay,
we're not doing that. We've survived the 2-parter attack on Waterdeep. The cool thing about this is we found out that we went and fought Xanathar in his lair and made him mad. We thought we killed him, but then
not today.
He had some trickery to fool us. And then we got attacked immediately after when we went back to our home to rest. And we thought, oh, well, we made him mad and he came and attacked us. We have just found out that Xanathar has decided to attack the entire town of Waterdeep. So Blackstaff got attacked. A bunch of other places got attacked. The Yawning Portal got hammered. So apparently this is a part of a much bigger attack than we thought. It wasn't just that we went down there and tried to kill him and mess with his stuff. So it'll be interesting to see. I think we're ready to go back down to the next level and get back down. We're going to be on 4th level the next time we dive into the dungeon, and we know we have like 20 something levels to go at least. So we got some ways to go yet. It's been fun. It's a enjoyable campaign that's action packed, lots of combat to it, lots of cool ability uses. Because our dungeon master lets us use a lot of crazy. We've used all the subclasses. Like we've got guys that are multi-class and into 3 of the subclasses at this point. Because now there's so many to choose from. They're trying to get abilities from all over. So now my guys are really the party's min-maxing. But there's some fun role playing going on. There's some fun game to it, and those are on the Tuesday nights. So that's been fun. I think it's a good dungeon delve. I'm ready to get back into 4th level and see where we go from there. That's past kind of the Skullport part, and that's past really anything I've ever read about or heard about for Dungeon of the Mad Mage. I've heard a little bit about Skullport before. I've heard a little bit about what level 1 or 2 might look like, but I never really got any info past that. So I feel like I'm really getting into the mystery of what the rest of it's going to be. I mean, we know it's Hollister's crazy fun room, kind of thing, and he's crazy, and he's got crazy apprentices and stuff. But from that point on, I just don't know what we're going to come across. I don't know what we're going to be doing. So it'll be interesting to see, and it's been really fun. I'm also getting excited. In just a few days, we should be getting together to talk about a Monster of the Week game. And I'm excited to see where that goes and what kind of comes about that, because it sounds like it could be a really fun one-shot that I'm getting super amped up about, getting excited to play. Just a fun one-off character.
It's a fun system the more I've been reading about it, and so I'm also excited to play because I haven't played it.
So that's what Lucian's done. But what about Jordan? We got 7 minutes to regale us with all of your Dungeons and Dragons goodness.
Well, the way you were talking about how powerful I should check out the Guide to the Lich, I will do that, Shozama. I blah 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 played my Wildmount game. And the dragon, when we last left, we had banished a dragon, and then we destroyed the enemy that was like holding the dragon hostage, but the dragon is like mind controlled. So when it came back, we were trying not to attack the dragon, but get it out of its domination that it was mind controlled. And it had this weird collar on it. So we did a lot of interesting checks where we were, I ended up casting grease to try and like get the collar to like wiggle off. And then I did a lot of like acid damage to like dissolve it. So it kind of turned into a pseudo skill challenge, but it was really fun. And then afterwards, we explored around the area because we're like, what is this place? Like, who was this guy that attacked us with a dragon? How does he have a dragon like that? And we ended up going into a underground dungeon, and we found his, like, home. And we ran into some NPCs that we had seen a while ago, and we were curious why they were there. Lots of questions get answered. I also missed, like, a month and a half, so a lot of times everyone at the table goes like, oh, it's him, and I'm like, who is this? Like, I don't, what? Which is so funny because we talk about, like, you know, you're gone for one session and then all of a sudden your players are flying around on a mind flare nautiloid, and you're like, how did we get here? We were in a forest. What is happening? So,
what did you guys do while I was gone?
Yeah, exactly. So, like, that's been kind of the running joke, is I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. But no, it's been fun. I'm still really excited. I've got a new spell that I created, Josh's Conjured Weapon, where I create, basically I kind of reflavored the Mordenkainen's Flying Dagger, or what is that spell called? I can't remember. But the level 7 spell where you summon a blade of force that like flies around and does damage. And I was like, what if we like lowered the level and I didn't allow it to fly around, and maybe got rid of concentration so I could just like have a blade of force in my hand. And then if I take the attack action, I could bonus action attack again or something. So I kind of like flavored it so I could have this Gish spellcaster that I've always wanted to play. So we're gonna, whenever I level up, I'm gonna take that spell and then we'll play around with that, and it could be a lot of fun. And I'll put my fighter friend to shame, and he's like, "Where'd you get that?" It'll be awesome.
So your DM is indulging your spell creation.
Yeah, it's been. Is
this
fun.
happening in downtime, or how is it your character has time to do this in the middle of adventuring?
Well, whenever we level, you can take a spell. And so with my my dungeon master, we've just been talking that, like, you know, the 2 hours before sleep kind of thing, I'm working on new magic and stuff like that. And I'm investing the gold and stuff into it. So creating a new spell costs money. And so a lot of my gold goes into, I bought ingredients to kind of perfect this spell. And then it's one of my new spells when I eventually level up. But I took I Josh's Conjured Tower, and so I can conjure this tower. So anytime we take a long rest, I usually conjure this tower, and then from that tower, I have a room that is just mine that is for magical research. So the idea is that I'm always kind of researching and stuff. So yeah,
gotcha.
It's part of the fun. Right. Part of the fun of the game. But before we go, I wanted to talk to you about this because I think it was something I was just reminded when you were talking about your game in Dungeon of the Mad Mage. But have you heard of Gestalt characters in D&D?
No.
I had never heard of this before.
But I don't know.
I had never heard of this before, but it is a variant way to play Dungeons and Dragons where when you level, you take 2 classes at once. So you're like, I'm going to be a fighter and a druid. And you get the benefit of both of those, but you only get 1 hit die, and like between the two, so you take the higher one, and you only get the proficiency bonus once, and an ASI only allows you to upgrade 1. But you know, by level 2, if you were a cleric and a druid, you would have shape change and channel divinity.
Yeah.
And you're still limited by your actions. But I was reading online, I had never heard of this before, and I was like, that sounds like a really fun way to play. And people on Reddit were saying it's very powerful. But you are almost a glass cannon. Like, you can do a whole bunch, but let's say 2 Gestalt characters are not as powerful as 4 regular characters, kind of a thing. So if you want to try this out, you could. And I kind of want to play a game like this because I think that's the twist that would make me be like, rather than more subclasses and all this other stuff, I think combining 2 things like that would be a new interesting way to play. And so I was going to... I don't know. I'd never heard of that. I know you've been playing RPGs longer than me, but Yeah. It's kind of fun.
I've not heard of that. Although it is interesting. 5e characters are already powerful.
Yeah.
But what I like about that is you have a lot of flexibility in maybe creating a character that you didn't feel like you could create through the way the rules work now.
Yeah.
Like if you really wanted to hone in on, I can do this thing, but I need to be able to do this thing. And right now they're separated into these classes that I can't really get to. I've always thought the one idea that's similar to that, but I haven't figured out how to do it, is sometimes I want more than one subclass from the same main class.
Yeah.
I want to be the fighter samurai, but then I also want to dive a little bit into, let's say,
Arcane Archer or something. And
yeah, or the Echo Knight, or the Psy Warrior one. You know, like I want my blades to be the Psy blades, but then I want the cool aesthetic of the Samurai Warrior and the cool stuff that's that. And yeah, it's powerful, and yeah, it's probably why you can't do it. But I've always thought, oh, that's such a cool thing that there's a couple of subclasses I'd like to meld together and play that character. It would be a cool, fun character. So I'm sure you could probably do it. I think as a dungeon master, if your players want to do that, you just realize that you're going to be throwing tougher things at them, which is where they become the glass cannon. Because if I have to throw in CR2 things at these Gestalt characters, and that's a tough fight, well, if the dice rolling goes bad, it could go bad quickly for them, thus they're the glass cannon.
Yeah.
They have a lot of cool stuff to overcome it, but usually it's a lot more on the edge. So you might like a game like that. So I could see somebody running that and really enjoying it, because it's you don't know what's going to happen. It's very swingy, you know, on what would happen to that. So,
yeah.
very interesting.
I'm going to go to D&D Beyond really quick, because people were asking me about my spell. I was like, I got to remember what it is.
You're mad. You're so green right now.
I'm green?
You're green right now.
I hosted this time, though. What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you?
What did you do?
I'm not green. We need to end this. You're so mad. Hulk Jordan has appeared.
Oh, it's awful. So, Josh's Conjured Weapon is a 3rd level spell. It lasts for 10 minutes without concentration. And a lot of people are saying, why don't you just use Shadow Blade? And that's a great example, but I wanted a weapon that I could use that was my intelligence modifier to hit rather than my dexterity. And Shadow Blade is like a regular weapon that you're proficient with. So this way, I have a Blade of Force that does, I think it's 1d10 damage, and then I can scale it up. So not 1d10 plus your intelligence like a regular weapon, but if I cast it at 4th level, I get 2d10 and et cetera, et cetera.
Gotcha.
And then I also I wanted to be able to attack twice. So if you cast this spell, and if I hit somebody with the spell, then as a bonus action, I can attack again. And so that was the idea, is that I wanted to attack twice and using your bonus action. So it's been fun, and it does force damage. And that's, it's just kind of a cool, my little silly spell, but that's my spell. Right. I am done. Anything we can talk about?
That is it. We talked about the
I'm
news.
all green.
We talked about the monsters. You're not green anymore. It only lasted for a couple of seconds there.
Hulked out. I can't help it, guys.
Hulked out.
We will be back next week with another episode of the Saturday Morning D&D Show. What we'll be talking about, I have no idea. But something will happen during the week, because it always does. And we're going to be back with more monsters and refined green palettes and things like that. Game on. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.